A crowd gathers in the town square of Millbrook. Angry voices pierce the air. Torches flicker against weathered faces twisted with rage. "She's a witch!" someone screams. "The girl cursed our crops!" In the center of it all stands Thomas Garrett, a man built like an oak tree. Weathered hands, steel-gray eyes. His coat bears the dust of 1,000 miles. Behind him, trembling, is a small figure. A girl, maybe 14. Dark hair falls across her face like a curtain. She makes no sound, not even a whimper. The mob presses closer. Thomas doesn't move. His hand rests on his holster. "Anyone who touches her," his voice cuts through the chaos, "answers to me." The crowd hesitates. They know this man. They know what those hands can do. But how did we get here? How did a simple act of kindness lead to this moment of reckoning? Let's go back. 3 months earlier. 3 months earlier. The trading post squats like a diseased animal in the desert. Wooden walls bleached white by sun and time. Inside, the air reeks of tobacco and desperation. Men huddle around tables, playing cards with dirty fingers. Others examine goods spread on makeshift counters. Whiskey, bullets, dreams sold cheap. At the back of the room, something else is for sale. A girl sits on a wooden crate, hands bound with rope, eyes fixed on the floor. She hasn't spoken a word in 2 years, maybe longer. The traders call her the Mute. Ezra Collins, a snake of a man with gold teeth, addresses the small crowd. His voice drips with false charm. "Gentlemen, what am I bid for this fine specimen? Young, strong, perfect for domestic duties." Ugly laughter ripples through the room. An old farmer steps forward. "What's wrong with her? Why don't she talk?" Ezra shrugs. "Shock, maybe. Indians killed her whole family. Found her wandering the plains like a ghost. But she's healthy. Good hands for work. I'll give you a sack of flour," the farmer calls out. "Flour it is. Anyone bid higher?" Silence. The girl's shoulders shake. But still, no sound. That's when the door swings open. Thomas Garrett steps inside. 6 feet of weathered muscle. Spurs jingle with each step. The room goes quiet. He surveys the scene. His eyes find the girl. "What's the bid?" he asks. "Sack of flour." Ezra grins. "You interested, mister?" Thomas reaches into his coat, pulls out a leather pouch, the unmistakable jingle of gold coins. $50. The room explodes in whispers. $50 could buy 3 horses. "Sold." Ezra snatches the pouch before Thomas can change his mind. Thomas walks to the girl, kneels down, looks into her eyes for the first time. "What's your name?" he asks softly. She stares back, lips pressed tight. "That's all right. Names aren't everything." He cuts the ropes around her wrists with a single stroke of his knife. "You're free now." The words hang in the air like smoke, but the girl doesn't move, doesn't understand. Freedom is just another word to her now. Thomas extends his hand. "Come on, let's get you out of here." She looks at his hand, weathered, scarred, but somehow safe. Slowly, she takes it. The wagon rolls across endless prairie. Thomas drives. The girl sits beside him, wrapped in his spare coat. Hours pass in silence. She steals glances at this strange man who bought her freedom. His hands are gentle on the reins. His voice is soft when he speaks to the horses. But his eyes carry shadows. "My ranch is about 20 miles north," he says. "Got a housekeeper there, Mrs. Martha. She'll look after you proper." The girl nods but says nothing. "I know you can't talk. Or won't. Doesn't matter to me either way." He guides the wagon around a cluster of rocks. "Had a daughter once, about your age. Rebecca." The word seems to cost him something. "Lost her to fever 3 winters ago. Her and her mother both." The girl turns to look at him. Really look. She sees the pain carved into his features like words in stone. "Been alone since then. House too quiet. Too empty." He doesn't say more, but she understands. Loneliness speaks all languages. The sun climbs higher. The ranch appears on the horizon like a mirage. White-painted house, red barn, corrals filled with horses. It looks like something from a dream. But as they get closer, the girl notices something else. Smoke rising from the neighboring property. Black smoke. Thomas sees it too. His jaw tightens. "Trouble," he mutters. They reach the ranch as the sun begins to set. Mrs. Martha, a kind-faced woman with silver hair, rushes out to greet them.
"Thomas, thank the Lord you're safe. There's been—"
She stops when she sees the girl.
"Who's this child?"
"Someone who needed help," Thomas says simply. "Can you look after her? Get her cleaned up, fed?" Mrs. Martha's eyes soften. "Of course. Come along, dear." The girl hesitates, looks back at Thomas. "It's all right," he assures her. "Martha's good people. She'll take care of you." But as they head toward the house, riders appear on the ridge. 3 men on horseback, silhouetted against the dying light. The leader is Magnus Cole, Thomas's neighbor. A bitter man with a face like a clenched fist. "Garrett," he calls out as they approach. "We need to talk." Thomas steps forward. His hand instinctively moves toward his gun. "What can I do for you, Magnus?" "You can start by explaining why you brought an Indian to our valley." The girl isn't Indian. Her features are clearly European, but Magnus sees what he wants to see. "She's not Indian," Thomas says calmly. "Don't lie to me. Look at her. Dark hair, dark skin. She's one of them savages. Even if she was, what business is it of yours?" Magnus spits in the dust. "My business is protecting good Christian folks from heathen influence. That girl is cursed, mark my words. The only curse around here is ignorance." The words hit Magnus like a slap. His face darkens. "You'd best watch your tone, Garrett, and you'd best get rid of that girl before she brings trouble to us all." "Is that a threat?" "It's a warning. From a neighbor." Magnus wheels his horse around. His men follow, but as they ride away, one of them looks back. His eyes lock with the girl's. She shrinks behind Thomas, but the damage is done. They've seen her, and they'll be back. Days pass peacefully at the ranch. The girl, whom Mrs. Martha has started calling Hope in the absence of her real name, begins to settle in. She helps with small chores, feeds the chickens, tends the garden. Her hands work with quiet efficiency, but she still doesn't speak. Thomas watches her from a distance. She reminds him so much of Rebecca. The same gentle way of moving, the same curiosity about the world. One evening he finds her in the barn. She's brushing one of the horses, a gentle mare named Lily. "She likes you," he says softly, not wanting to startle her. Hope looks up, nods. Horses are good judges of character. They can sense a person's heart. He moves closer. "This one belonged to my daughter, Rebecca. She loved this horse more than anything." Hope's hand pauses on the brush. "Rebecca would have liked you," Thomas continues. "You both have that same quietness, like you're listening to something the rest of us can't hear." For a moment, Hope's lips part, as if she might speak. But then the moment passes. "Take your time," Thomas says gently. "Words will come when they're ready." That night, Hope dreams. She's running through a field of wildflowers. Someone is calling her name. But the voice is distant, like an echo from another life. She wakes with tears on her cheeks, and for the first time in 2 years, she makes a sound, a whisper so soft it's barely there. "Lily." The name of the horse. Her first word. But no one hears it. No one knows that the walls around her heart are finally beginning to crack. 3 weeks after Hope's arrival, the troubles begin. It starts with the Hendersons' wheat. A whole field, ready for harvest, turns black overnight, as if cursed. Then old Pete's cattle fall sick. 5 head dead by morning. No explanation. The well at the Murphy farm runs dry. Water table drops for no reason anyone can understand. One by one, the neighbors start to whisper. Started when Garrett brought that girl. Ain't natural how she don't talk. I seen her walking at night, under the moon, like she's doing some kind of ritual. The whispers reach Magnus Cole's ears like wind through wheat. He rides to town with his men, stops at the saloon where tongues are loose and minds are small. "Gentlemen," he addresses the room. "We have a problem." Faces turn toward him. Weathered men with fears older than memory. "Thomas Garrett has brought a witch to our valley." Nervous laughter, but it dies quickly. "Laugh if you want, but explain the Henderson wheat. Explain Pete's cattle. Explain why everything started dying when that girl arrived." The laughter stops completely. "What do you suggest we do?" asks Sheriff Morrison, a weak man who bends with whatever wind is strongest. "We do what men have always done when darkness threatens the light." Magnus doesn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone understands. Meanwhile, at the ranch, Hope tends the garden. She doesn't know that her mere existence has become a declaration of war. But Thomas knows. He sees the smoke signals, hears the whispers in town. He starts checking his guns each night. They come on a moonless night. 3 men with faces hidden behind bandanas. They're not here to hurt anyone. Not yet. This is just a warning. They douse the barn with kerosene, strike a match. Orange flames lick the night sky. Thomas wakes to the smell of smoke, bursts from the house with his rifle. "Hope! Mrs. Martha! Get out!" But the girl is already running toward the barn, toward the flames. "Hope! No!" She doesn't listen, can't listen, because inside the barn is Lily, Rebecca's horse. Thomas chases after her, but she's already inside. Smoke fills his lungs like poison. He finds her struggling to open Lily's stall. The horse rears in terror. "I've got her!" Thomas shouts over the roar of flames. Together, they lead the horse to safety. But the barn is lost. As they stand watching it burn, Hope finally speaks. Her voice is rough from disuse but clear. "I'm sorry." 2 words, but they carry the weight of her guilt. "This isn't your fault," Thomas says firmly. "Yes, it is." Her voice grows stronger. "They hate me. They think I'm evil. What they think doesn't matter. It matters to you. This was your daughter's horse, your barn." Thomas turns to face her. In the firelight, she looks older than her years. "You know what my daughter would say if she was here?" Hope shakes her head. "She'd say that a barn can be rebuilt, but a life is precious, worth any sacrifice." Tears stream down Hope's face. "What's my name?" The question catches Thomas off guard. I don't know. What do you want it to be?" "I don't remember my real name. But Mrs. Martha calls me Hope. Hope's a good name. Is it? Because right now I don't feel like much hope for anyone. Thomas puts his hand on her shoulder. Hope isn't about what you feel, child. It's about what you choose to believe, even when everything's burning down around you. The barn collapses in a shower of sparks, but something else has been built in its place. Trust, between a broken man and a lost girl, and that perhaps is worth more than any building. Word of the fire spreads like fire. By morning, half the town knows. By afternoon, they're gathering at the church for an emergency meeting. Magnus Cole stands at the front like a preacher of hate. Friends, neighbors, what happened last night at the Garrett Ranch is a warning. A sign. Murmurs of agreement ripple through the crowd. That girl, that thing he brought among us, she's poisoning our land with her dark presence. What proof do you have? Challenges Dr. Williams, one of the few educated men in town. Open your eyes. The crop's failing, the cattle dying, the well running dry, and now fire, the devil's own calling card. Those could be coincidences. Coincidences? Magnus laughs bitterly. How many coincidences before we call it what it is? Witchcraft. The crowd grows restless. Fear feeds on itself like flames feed on wood. Sheriff Morrison stands up. His voice wavers. What? What are you suggesting we do? What our fathers did, what the Bible commands. Remove the evil from among us. You're talking about murder, Dr. Williams says quietly. I'm talking about survival. The church falls silent. Outside, thunder rumbles in the distance. A storm is coming. All in favor of giving Garrett an ultimatum, Magnus calls out. Either he removes the girl from our valley, or we remove her ourselves. Hands rise slowly, one by one, until nearly half the room has voted for exile or worse. Sheriff Morrison counts the votes with shaking hands. Motion carries. Dr. Williams stands up. Then God help us all. He walks out into the storm. The delegation arrives at sunrise. 6 men on horseback, led by Sheriff Morrison. Magnus Cole rides beside him like a shadow. Thomas meets them at his gate. Hope stands behind him, Mrs. Martha's protective arm around her shoulders. Thomas, the sheriff begins awkwardly. We've come with an official request from the town council. I can guess what it is. The girl has to go. No. The simple word hangs in the air like a challenge. Be reasonable, Magnus interjects. Ever since she arrived, nothing but trouble. The signs are clear. The only sign I see is fear making fools of good men. 48 hours, Sheriff Morrison says quietly. We're giving you 48 hours to make arrangements. And if I don't, the sheriff can't meet his eyes. Then we'll be back, with more men. Thomas's hand rests on his gun. You can come back with an army. My answer won't change. The delegation exchanges glances. They expected resistance, but not this. Certainty. Think about what you're doing, Garrett, Magnus warns. One girl isn't worth dying for. That's where you're wrong. Every innocent life is worth dying for. That's what separates men from animals. Magnus's face twists with rage. We'll see about that. They ride away, leaving dust and threats in their wake. Hope steps forward. I should go. No. I'm not worth this. I'm not worth you dying. Thomas turns to face her. This girl who has learned to speak just in time to break his heart. Listen to me, Hope. In this life, we don't get to choose our battles. They choose us. But we do get to choose how we fight them. With honor or with fear. With courage or with hatred.
I'm scared.
Good. Fear keeps us alive. But don't let it make your choices for you. That night, Thomas cleans his guns by lamplight. Mrs. Martha packs supplies. Hope sits by the window, watching the horizon for riders that will surely come. The storm is almost here. 24 hours remain. Thomas sends Mrs. Martha to town to stay with relatives. The coming fight is no place for a gentlewoman. "I won't leave that child," Martha protests. "You will," Thomas says firmly. "Because if something happens to me, Hope will need someone to look after her, someone who believes in her." Martha's eyes fill with tears, but she nods. She understands. After Martha leaves, Thomas and Hope are alone in the house. The silence feels heavy with unspoken words.
"Tell me about your daughter,"
Hope says quietly. Thomas looks surprised. "Why?"
"Because when I rode Lily today, I felt something, like she remembered someone else, someone who loved her."
Thomas sets down his gun, walks to the fireplace. Above it hangs a small portrait of a girl with kind eyes and Rebecca's smile.
Rebecca was light.
That's the only way I can describe her. She found joy in simple things. A flower, a bird's song, the way sunlight danced on water. Hope studies the portrait.
"She looks happy."
She was. Even when she was dying, she was concerned about everyone else. About me. About her mother. About the horses. Thomas's voice breaks slightly. The last thing she said was, "Take care of Lily, Papa. She gets lonely."
"That's why you saved me."
"Because I remind you of her." Thomas considers this. Maybe at first, but not anymore.
"What do you mean?"
"Rebecca was light, but you're something else. You're survival. You're proof that the human spirit can endure anything and still choose kindness." Hope doesn't know what to say to that. "Tomorrow when they come, I want you to hide in the root cellar. No matter what you hear, don't come out until it's over. What if you lose? Then you run. Run far and fast and don't look back."
"I won't leave you."
"Yes, you will. Because that's how you honor sacrifice. By living." That night, neither of them sleeps. Hope lies awake, listening to the wind. Thomas sits by the window, watching for the first sign of riders. Dawn comes like a funeral march. They arrive with the sun. Not 6 men this time, but 20, maybe more. Thomas watches from his window as they spread out around the house, some on foot, others mounted, all armed. "This is your last chance, Garrett," Magnus shouts from the yard. "Send the girl out and no one gets hurt." Thomas steps onto the porch. His rifle rests casually in his arms. "Already told you my answer. Then you've chosen to die for nothing." "No, Magnus. I've chosen to live for something. There's a difference." The crowd grows restless. Fear and hatred are a dangerous combination. "Where is she?" someone yells. "Where's the witch?" "There is no witch," Thomas replies calmly. "Just a scared girl who's lost everything. Like all of us, at one time or another." "Liar!" A shot rings out. Thomas dives for cover behind a water trough. The battle begins. Bullets pepper the porch, splinter the wood. Thomas returns fire with methodical precision. But 20 against 1. The math is simple. Inside the house, Hope hears the gunfire. Every instinct screams at her to help, but she promised to hide. Then she hears Thomas cry out, "Hit!" The promise breaks. She bursts from the house just as the mob closes in.
Thomas lies wounded, still fighting, but overwhelmed. "Stop!" she screams. The word echoes across the yard like thunder. For a moment, everyone freezes. This is the first time most of them have heard her voice. Hope walks into the circle of guns, stands between Thomas and his attackers. "I'll go," she says simply. "Just don't hurt him anymore." Magnus steps forward, triumph in his eyes. "Too late for bargains, girl. Why do you hate me so much? I never hurt anyone. You exist. That's enough." Hope looks around at the faces surrounding her. Fear, anger, but also doubt. She sees it in some of their eyes. "My name is Hope," she says clearly. "I don't remember my family's name because I watched them die when I was 12. Indians, like you suspected, but not the way you think." She takes a deep breath. "They were protecting me from white men who wanted to do terrible things, men who looked just like you." Murmurs ripple through the crowd. "I haven't spoken in 2 years because I was afraid that if I used my voice, someone would use it against me, like you're doing now." Her voice grows stronger. "You're right about one thing. I am different, but not because I'm evil. Because I've seen evil, real evil. And it doesn't look like witchcraft or Indian magic." She turns to face Magnus directly. "It looks like fear that turns good people into monsters." The words hit like physical blows. Some men lower their weapons. But Magnus raises his pistol. "Enough talk." The gun swings toward Hope. Thomas tries to move, but he's too weak from blood loss. Time slows. Then a voice cuts through the tension. "Put the gun down, Magnus." Everyone turns. Dr. Williams stands at the edge of the crowd. But he's not alone. Mrs. Martha's with him. And behind them, more townspeople. The ones who didn't come to fight. The ones who stayed home and thought about what they were becoming. "This ends now," Dr. Williams says firmly. "You're outnumbered, Doc," Magnus snarls. "Am I? Count again." More people emerge from behind buildings, from alleys, from the shadows of their own shame. Good people who couldn't live with what was being done in their name. The mob fragments. Some men slip away, suddenly remembering urgent business elsewhere. But Magnus doesn't lower his gun. "I don't care how many of you there are. This evil ends today." His finger tightens on the trigger. Hope closes her eyes. The shot echoes across the valley. But when Hope opens her eyes, she's still standing. Magnus lies in the dust, clutching his shoulder. Sheriff Morrison holds a smoking gun. "Sorry, Magnus," the sheriff says quietly. "Should have done this sooner." 5 years later. The town of Millbrook looks different now. Cleaner. Kinder. Like a place that learned from its mistakes. The church has a new pastor, a young man who preaches about love instead of fear. The school has a new teacher, a young woman with dark hair and gentle eyes. Her name is Hope Garrett. Thomas adopted her officially 3 years ago. She speaks now, often. Her voice carries the authority of someone who chose silence and then chose words. The children love her, not because she's easy on them, but because she listens, really listens. On Sundays, she rides to the cemetery with Thomas. They visit 2 graves. Rebecca and her mother rest under an oak tree that Hope planted. "Thank you," she whispers to the stones, "for making him the kind of man who saves broken things." Thomas watches from a distance. His hair is grayer now, his steps slower, but his eyes are clear. Magnus Cole left town 2 years ago. Some say he went west, looking for a place where his kind of thinking still made sense. Dr. Williams stayed. He runs the clinic with quiet dignity. Sometimes he and Hope work together, healing the kinds of wounds that don't always show. Mrs. Martha returned to the ranch. She says someone needs to keep those two fed and civilized. But mostly she likes being part of a family again. The barn was rebuilt, bigger than before. Lily still lives there, though she's old now. Sometimes Hope finds her staring at the horizon, as if remembering a girl who used to ride her through fields of wildflowers. On quiet evenings, Hope sits on the porch with Thomas. They don't talk much. Don't need to. But sometimes, when the wind is right and the sunset paints the sky in shades of possibility, Hope speaks the words that still surprise her with their truth. Thank you for buying my freedom. Thank you for reminding me what it means to be free. The words hang in the air like a prayer, like a promise, like hope itself. Fade to black.
In the Old West, freedom wasn't something you could buy with gold. It was something you earned with courage, defended with blood, and shared with love. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness echo through generations, changing the world one heart at a time. This is the story of how a sack of flour became worth less than a human soul. How silence became a voice. How hatred became hope. How one man's choice to see a person instead of a problem changed everything. Because in the end, we're all just broken things waiting for someone to believe we're worth saving.